All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Speak to the Beak. I am Tim the Ferds, joined by Keith Hernandez, and we are out here not at our normal time. It is
No.
noon on Monday. The weekend was a little busy, but Keith's a grinder, and he's out here on the lunch break doing a quick podcast. All right, so we figured we'd get one out to you this week because obviously Major League Baseball trade deadline. Big stuff incoming. Some guys have gotten traded already. I'm not even going to ask Keith if he's ready to go because we already had this conversation last night for 2.5 hours in Joe's backyard. Shout out to Joe Kennedy. So we're just going to have a more watered down part of that conversation right now on the podcast.
Oh, yeah.
So I didn't realize... I knew we were nerds, but I didn't realize how big nerds we were until we were out here naming, top 50 prospects from every single team in the major leagues.
Yeah, exactly.
And then it's like the three of us going in a triangle, and then there's one person sitting there okay.
Got no idea what's going on.
No idea what's going on right now, but that's okay. So before we get started, quick usual stuff we got going on. Number one, this week, it's important. Check out the website, beakbrands.com. The podcast is there. Written content is there. A lot of people have been asking me about football stuff. Tuesday, which is tomorrow, our 32 and 32 series kicks off, so you're going to get one NFL team every single weekday from now until the start of the season. Get a little fantasy preview, get a real-life preview, get a little recap, in case you're a casual fan. You don't really pay attention that much during the off-season, so that's super cool for you. Number two, follow Beak Brands on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Obviously, stuff is automatically posted there. We've gotten some good feedback lately, so that's awesome. Definitely follow us. If you're on the YouTube channel, subscribe to the channel, like the video, send to a friend, whatever, give it a listen. Me and Keith appreciate your time, obviously, so hit us up there. And if you're an Apple Podcast or Spotify listener, same deal. Rate, review, follow, subscribe, share it with a friend. Maybe you work a job like one of our friends where you just kind of have to walk around and you get to do your own thing, so you can listen to the podcast. Maybe you're like one of our other friends who just doesn't do work at his job, and you can listen to the podcast. Maybe you're like Keith, and you work from home, so you can work at home and listen to the podcast at the same time.
Exactly.
Yeah. Or you
easy.
Yeah, or you could be like me, and you're off the whole summer, because teacher life is great, and you can listen to any podcast you want. So, yeah, definitely do that for us, but we're going to hop right into it. So, Keith, we had some trades that already happened, so I guess we'll just go in chronological order with the three, big ones. Nelson Cruz, one of the best nicknames in baseball, Boomstick, traded from the Minnesota Twins to the Tampa Bay Rays, which resulted in them trading Rich Hill to the Mets because they are such a poverty franchise they can't afford two people making more than $5 million in one season. So why don't you go in order? How do you like the Nelson Cruz deal for both sides, and then how do you like the Rich Hill deal from Tampa going to New York?
The Nelson Cruz deal definitely surprised me. I did not think that Tampa was going to be a landing spot for him, but they did need another bat in that lineup, especially a right-handed bat. Hit a home run in his first game too, so that was pretty cool. But yeah, thanks to the Rays to being such a poverty franchise that they had to give up Rich Hill for free to the Mets. Who, for those who don't know, the Mets only gave up a reliever who's out for the entire year, and a 24-year-old catcher who's still in low A. Who's hitting 180 this year. So, pretty much nothing. I think the Twins ended up getting a decent return, too, for a 42-year-old designated hitter. I mean, there's not much value in that with Nelson Cruz.
He can still hit, though.
He can still hit.
Yeah.
But they still got some top 10, 15 prospect in the Rays organization, which is better than most. So, good for them.
I think the Nelson Cruz deal is going to work out for both ends because obviously Minnesota is about to blow up the whole team. Everyone's gone. They're going to trade Buxton. I saw before, Pineda's drawing interest. They have a ton of dudes they could trade. Nelson Cruz, I contacted the Beak brand social media guy immediately. Like, yo, you need to post something about this guy because he's about to hit like 20 home runs between now and September. Like, that's what happens when you get traded to the Rays or the A's. You just get significantly better overnight. And he's already a good player. It's like, good for him. And, God bless you. Because now the Mets got Rich Hill for, like Keith said, for free. We needed a pitcher. I mean, we need a couple more pitchers, but we needed a pitcher that's, like, reliable. As long as his blisters aren't coming back, he's reliable. He can go 5 or 6 innings. He's got postseason experience. And he's a solid pickup for the Mets. So I really like both of those trades. It's unfortunate the Rays have to give him up, but he only pitches like 4 innings for them anyway. So I mean,
exactly. They were barely using him. Glasnow's coming back in a month. So
yeah, they had a little excess they could get rid of there.
Yeah.
And the other trade, which already happened, which was yesterday, and me and Keith were together in person, and we were just like, okay, what is happening? The Padres traded for Adam Frazier from the Pirates. Currently leads the league in hits. Excuse me. He joins a San Diego team that is like stacked top to bottom with Pham, Myers, Grisham, Machado, Tatis, Cronenworth, him now.
Kim, Hosmer.
They're paying their 2 backup infielders like $30 million to sit on the bench. They have pitching for days. They're going to try to get more pitching. So let's talk about it from the Padres first, because they're like, a World Series contender. Where do you think Frazier slots in for them? And did you like the move? Because they did give up a decent amount of prospects for him.
Yeah. Another one that just surprised me, and I think that trade, how they're gonna have to play the trade market is get guys that are on the Dodgers radar, so the Dodgers don't get them. Like Frazier was like one of those guys that the Dodgers were looking at, like, we need to get this guy, we need this extra bat in the lineup. With Seager has been out for 3 months now.
Yeah, it's been a while.
It's been a really long time since he's back. Like Chris Taylor is pretty much carrying the team by himself. So
they just put Mookie Betts on the IL too.
Yeah, so they're down, and going into that Giants series this week, it's gonna be scary for him. But yeah, I mean, Adam Frazier, when I watched him play the Mets, it did not seem like he knew how to get out. Every single time he was up, he was just on base. It was ridiculous. But yeah, I mean, good move for the Padres. I saw some reports that they want to, try to move Hosmer, which nobody's gonna want that contract.
Actually, I just got like right this second. From 10 seconds ago. San Diego first baseman Eric Hosmer has surfaced in recent trade discussions, but no trade partners mentioned, a.k.a. what Keith just said. Nobody wants him.
They're going to have to pay somebody to take him, because they're like very far over the luxury tax threshold right now. And if they're actually in on Scherzer, I mean, they're going to start losing draft picks or something with how far they go over that threshold.
I don't know, man. I don't know if anyone's going to take him, though, knowing that they're going to, like, be punished if they keep going. Yeah.
It's crazy.
But, like, the reason Keith brings that up is because his contract is so expensive, and he still has, like, a lot of time left on it. Hosmer,
on the contract until 2025.
Yeah. That's, like
$18 million a year, I think.
Yeah. No one's taking that contract.
No.
And when he signed it, at first, like, this is years ago, obviously. I was like, all right, like, it's an overpay, But now it's looking, like, real bad because he's, like, falling off, at least this year. He's not having a good season.
I don't think he's had a single good year yet in San Diego. Is this year 3, I think, or 4?
I have to double check, but
I don't remember.
Either way. But when he was in the Royals, he wasn't, like, a high average hitter.
He had like 1 year where he hit over 280, but
that's what I mean. He was always there as like a defensive guy. I mean, he could hit, but like he wasn't a
he's
stud.
A leader, yeah.
Yeah. It's like that veteran leader guy that you go and get.
Exactly. He was like more like 6 years, like 100 million, not 7 years, 180 million.
Yeah, exactly. They overpaid him pretty bad.
Grossly overpaid, and they were still bad at the time. Like I said, that was the year before they brought in Machado. 2 years before they got Tatis. It was a weird move at the time.
The only reason why I didn't hate it, like at the time, I know this is like going back, but eventually, like every team that has their farm system coming up, like you have to be able to attract free agents. And how do you do that? You have to grossly overpay the first guy every time. We've seen teams do it all the time. Like you just have to bite the bullet. And like you said, Hosmer's like a good guy, veteran leader. Like if you're gonna do it, I guess you're doing it with him. And obviously, if he sticks around, he's gonna be defensive replacement because he can still play elite defense. So they got that going for him. But how about the Pirates? Like, actually doing something intelligent. How crazy is that? They never do that.
Yeah, they never do that. It was weird that they sent money over with Frazier to get a bigger return. So, I mean, honestly, the number 5 prospect from the Padres that they got, he's not good. He's appeared in the majors before. I think he hit like 190 in his little stint here. Hitting under 250, I believe, in the minor leagues. He's an infielder, Marcana or whatever his last name is. I don't really remember, but he's not great. Nowhere really close to top 100 prospect rankings. That Padre system is really really thinned out after all the trades they made for Musgrove and for Snell, and all those crazy moves they made. So they're really going all in. They know that's what they have to do. They have to trade Mackenzie Gore and like every other last person in that farm system, and then they're gonna try to get Scherzer, like I said before. But yeah, it's weird.
It is weird, but I guess good for the Pirates for cashing in on a guy that
finally,
yeah, it's about
this
time.
Is his first good year ever. He's always been a mediocre player. So
that's a
year and a half left in that contract. Just get rid of him.
Good move for both teams, I think.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna flip over to the American League though, Keith. So I know we talked about this yesterday. If you're the Seattle Mariners, right? They had Jerry Dipoto on High Heat. Obviously, me and Keith like just consume baseball content like all day, every day. And Chris Russo kind of asked him like, "Hey, you're a young team, and you're kind of close to making the playoffs. Like, what do you normally do, like in the situation?" And Jerry Dipoto, who, by the way, is like a very active general manager, was just kind of like, yeah, basically he said we're screwed. Because if we make a bunch of trades, I don't want to blow out the whole farm system and then we don't make the playoffs and now we're in trouble forever. But I don't want to not make a trade and then we just miss it by like a game or two and everyone hates me. So, all right, Keith, you're the general manager of the Mariners. What are you doing this trade deadline?
I think if you trade for somebody, it has to be somebody with like 2 or 3 years of team control left. So like they're a team that could trade for like Herman Marquez, or they could trade for Buxton, or even Trey Turner's name is getting mentioned because the Nationals look like they're going to blow the whole team up. There was a report earlier today that they have no intention of keeping him long term, which is idiotic.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But if that team blows up, the Nationals, like Trey Turner is gonna get a huge return for that team. I'm sure there's gonna be every single team on the planet looking to trade for Trey Turner. But I think the Mariners, if they do make a move, it has to be somebody with a couple years of team control left. Even Joey Gallo, he's got half of this year and next year too. There's a lot of guys with a year or two left on their deals past this year. That could be a good fit for that team.
All right, they have been linked to Whit Merrifield.
Yep.
I mean, I love him. He's the man.
Yeah, he's cool.
Do you think he fits in with Seattle for this year?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
definitely. I mean, he's still got years on his contract left. He's a little bit of an older player, so he won't even cost that much. Even though he's a good hitter, between the size of his deal, making $10 million a year or something.
He's on a great contract. Yeah,
he's on a great contract. But still, I mean, those are two small market teams. The Royals want to clear that contract, even though it's not that much money. The Mariners don't really want to eat that contract because they're still a decently small market team. So it's going to decrease the value of Merrifield on top of the fact that he's like 33 years old.
Yeah.
But yeah, it would definitely be a good fit for them. J.P. Crawford's coming up. Just stinks that like this is Kyle Seager's last year there. I'm pretty sure he's a free agent after this year.
Yeah.
So now they're in a position where they were hoping that they were going to get a return for him trading him at the deadline. But now they might have to offer him a contract to re-sign him and get stuck with a grossly overpaid third baseman who's going to age out.
Yeah, I mean, so let me tell you what I would do if I'm the Seattle Mariners. Ready? Not a damn thing. I'm not falling for this trap. I know that we're not going to beat Houston or Oakland when it really comes down to it. Not a chance, right? You know, the White Sox pretty much ran away with the Central a month into the season, so that's basically over. Then the entire American League East is good, except for Baltimore. Like, Toronto is like 4 games over 500, and they're like 10 games back in the division.
They're in 4th place
Yeah.
now.
So I'm like, if I'm Seattle, no way. I'm not falling for this trap. I'm not doing it.
No.
I'm going to let my young guys play out the season. If we make it, great. If we don't, it's fine. I'm holding on to all my trade chips because if those guys come up next season or they're ready, you know, at the start of the season after that, like, they're going to be a juggernaut if they can get some pitching, obviously. Like you said, if they can make a move for Marquez, who you can control for a while, and he's like a stud, that I would do. But basically anything other than that, I'm going to sit here and just watch the same team play every night.
Yeah.
Like, that's just me. But
it's a good move. I mean, they could do something like insane and try to give someone Kelnick for someone with like years of team control left. Like, if they wanted Brian Reynolds is under control for another like 5.5 years.
Yeah.
With the Pirates, they could give like Kelnick up. I mean, who only has 1 hit since coming up against in the second half. I think he's like 1 for 19 to start.
Yep.
So he is struggling again, which is very sad. But
well, I mean, it's not so sad for us, but it's kind of sad
for
them. If they want to give him back, though, that would be cool.
Take him.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so I think we're kind of on, you know, the same path here with how we're feeling about most of these teams. Let's go back to the National League then. The Cubs and Nationals are 2 teams that, you know, have been rumored, and you just brought them up. They're going to trade everybody. All right, so let's start with the Cubs, because they've been on this train a little bit longer than the Nationals have been, I think. What are you doing, or what team do you think is going to go for Kris Bryant, Craig Kimbrel? Do you think they keep Baez and Rizzo? Like, just give me a Cubs little Keith's Corner right here. What do you think?
So I think one of them stays out of the 3 between Bryant, Rizzo, and Baez. I've seen a lot of the Red Sox linked to any of those 3 infielders plus Kimbrel. I saw a lot of Bryant plus Kimbrel to the Red Sox. I see a lot of Rizzo plus Kimbrel to the Red Sox. It's weird. Even the Yankees being linked to Baez, Yankees being linked to Bryant, Yankees being linked to Rizzo, all 3 of them.
The Yankees are basically linked to every big name player on the planet. So yeah.
Yeah. So realistically, Rizzo would be a perfect fit for the Yankees. Imagine him with that short porch.
Yeah.
And they need a lefty bat. He would be a great fit for the Yankees. So that would be a smart move for them to make, but it hasn't really seemed like that much of a connection. More like announcers speculating, you know, this would be a good fit for them.
It's just like, this makes sense type of thing.
This makes sense. Yeah, exactly. That I would say at least 2 of them go. I think Bryant will get him the biggest return just because former MVP. He plays multiple positions. Even though he's been hitting 150 over the last 2 months, like, he's still going to get him a huge return.
Yeah.
They'll have that leverage. I wouldn't be surprised if it comes down to, you know, 20 minutes before the deadline on the 31st, where Bryant is still a Cub and he ends up wherever for less than they should have traded for him. But I'm like having a hard time thinking where those 2 left side infielders, Baez and Bryant, could end up. It's like very, very weird.
Here's a question for you. Do you think the Dodgers could be in on Javi Baez? Because, like, Seager, I still don't think is doing baseball activities.
No. So that's definitely someone that they could be in on. Would he be a good fit there? Probably not.
Probably not, but...
Baez really isn't a good fit anywhere. It's just his defense, but he doesn't get on base. Sure, he hits a lot of home runs, but he doesn't get on base.
Yeah.
But he's hitting like 240 this year. His on base percentage is under 300, which is disgusting. It's like a Med Rosario numbers.
Yeah, it is. But he can play defense.
Yeah, exactly.
So, all right. You're thinking, if you had to put your money on one to stay, who would you think it
Yeah,
would be?
Rizzo.
Okay, see,
I
I'm
think
I'm
Rizzo
gonna go with
stays.
Baez.
You're gonna go with Baez.
Yeah.
I think Rizzo has been a fan favorite for longer
Oh, I'm not
than
denying
those
that.
guys.
I just think Javi Baez
Yeah.
does not care about winning, and he will take the big paycheck. That's
Yes,
the only
that
reason
is
why I'm
true.
saying him.
That's true.
Yeah.
I But he already turned out that big. He already turned out that big deal from them.
I know, but no one
Um.
else is going to offer that again. Like, if they offer something close to that to him, he's going to take it, especially after
Mhm.
the season he's having this year.
Yeah. Exactly.
Are any of them Boris
I
guys? The three of them?
I feel
Brian
like
probably
Brian
is.
I
Yeah.
think Brian is, but I don't know about the other two. Um. Yeah, but like Rizzo's definitely a guy that would take like a hometown discount to stay.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm also more inclined to him staying, like them not trading him because they know that they could keep him and keep some fans happy, keep some people in the ballpark while not like grossly overpaying for him.
This is true. I mean, valid point there.
Hmm.
I know you brought up the Nationals before, right? So we're gonna save Max Scherzer because I have, I guess, a take on him.
Yeah.
Everyone else on the Nationals, you think, is a goner, basically.
Yeah, I mean not Strasburger, not Corbin, because nobody's gonna take Corbin's contract, and the Nationals aren't gonna trade Strasburg, I think.
Okay.
But I think Josh Bell is towards the end of a deal too. He was
He
supposed to be a
is.
1 year thing,
Yeah.
so he's probably going to be gone somewhere. I mean, that's another good fit for the
I was
Yankees.
gonna say
He's a
he's
switch
gonna be a
hitting first
great
baseman,
fit for any American League team.
any American League team, because
Yeah.
he's not a defensive guy.
No.
He'll be a great DH for any American League team. Um, Trey Turner, if they ended up trading him, would be insane. Schwarber would have been on the table too, but he's hurt. He's probably
Yeah.
out for at least another month.
We talked about that with Trey Turner
Hmm.
though. Do you think a team like would trade for him and then just knowing they're not going to re-sign him? Because like at this point, Trey Turner is going to get a bigger deal than Francisco Lindor.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Um, it would be tough. I know, like when I saw that rumor about Trey Turner being available, there was a lot of Yankee fans like please, 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 but like that'll that'll never happen. Their farm system is dead pretty much. They just got Jason Dominguez and like that's it.
Yeah, I don't think they have the prospects to trade for him.
No,
They'd have to trade major
um,
league talent, but what are the Nationals going to do with that?
nothing.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, and they're still. I think a lot of Yankee fans are still on the give Clint Frazier and Andujar and that'll be enough, two major league players. But I mean, it would have to be like Jason Dominguez, Gleyber Torres, um, probably still like Clint Frazier, and then some combination of two uh, prospect pitchers that are like super young and
Yeah,
have
low
some
A
type of
ball,
potential.
something like
Like
that.
yeah, like
Yeah.
18, 19-year-old like random high school kids that they just drafted.
Yeah, that's a tough spot for the Nationals. Do you think if they like blow all this up, Juan Soto's gonna be like, "What are we doing out here?"
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
Um, I'm sure he's happy he hasn't signed any type of extension yet, but he's like Soto's a guy who's gonna sign for over $400 million.
yeah,
That contract is gonna be massive. I think if he's smart, he plays it out until he's a free agent in 4 years, 3 years, or
I
whatever.
say just wait, and
Just
then
wait.
because every team in the majors is gonna want him, so it's just gonna be
Yes.
like whoever's
Yes.
gonna
And
outbid the Angels for him. Basically, is what it's gonna come down
exactly,
to.
he's gonna be a Harper type of free agent where he's a free agent like 25, 26 years old. It's
Yep.
it's gonna be insane.
Yeah, I mean, oh, whoa, that's gonna be so exciting.
Yeah.
But let's focus on the trades here. So, Max Scherzer, right? I'm gonna ask you a
Mhm.
question. You let me know if you think I'm on the right track here. Max Scherzer will not only determine the NL West winner, but B, also the World Series winner.
Correct.
Okay, because if
Correct.
he ends up, whoever gets him out of the Padres, Dodgers, or Giants, because they're all in on him. Now the Mets are also in on him, but like I doubt the Nationals trade
It
him
was
to
a
us.
Martino rumor.
Yeah, it's not happening.
Garbage.
I mean, I've seen it a couple other places too, but like I think that's more like
Yeah.
you said before. Fans kind of like, oh, this guy fits with our team. Like, would the Red Sox ever trade like one of the best players to the Yankees? No. So like the Nationals are not going to trade him to the Mets. So basically, out of National League teams that are super interested in him, it's the Giants, it's the Dodgers, it's the Padres.
Yeah.
I think whoever lands Scherzer out of those three teams, if he goes to one of those three, not only are they going to win the division, but they probably will go to the World Series.
Because at least go to the World Series.
If you throw him on the Dodgers, right, now you're looking at Buehler, Kershaw, him, and if they don't run Bauer out of town or whatever happens with him, he'll be back too, which is incredible, even though the players apparently hate him. If you send him to the Padres, that might be game over for everybody because I don't know anyone who's going to beat that team in the playoffs at this point.
Yeah, Scherzer, Darvish, Musgrove.
Yeah, Blake sounds like the 4.
Yeah.
I don't know anyone who would beat that team. Like you'd have to get them in the wild card game if they didn't win the division and just pray. Basically, is what you're doing.
Just pray you go 0-0 through 9 and extra inning rolled, and you just battle it out from there.
Oh man! And then the Giants. I know they have Kevin Gausman. I do not have faith in that man when it comes to the playoffs. Like I've seen this before with him. I think he's one of those pitchers that's good but not great. And if you can slot him in as like your 2 or like your 1B type of thing behind Scherzer, like now you got a squad.
Yeah.
And
they
last thing, sorry to cut you
pitcher.
off, Keith. Yeah.
Yeah.
Scherzer pitching in San Francisco. His only big thing is he gives up a lot of home runs. San Francisco is massive. So that would play right into his hands because all those balls that like barely get out would be like pop outs to right center field.
Right.
Because the fence feels like it's like 610 feet away.
All those home runs he gives up in National Park are always over that little short high wall in like right center field.
Yep.
And you still got like 50 feet of room behind you in Giants Park if you play there. So that would be insane if the Giants traded for him actually, because I've only seen Dodgers Padres.
I think Farhan is sneaking around.
That would be a huge sleeper move. So we got 5 days, including today. It's gonna be
electric. I can't wait. Yeah. Obviously, me and Keith have been out here for about half an hour already, and we don't worry. We have our beat the streak picks. We have our fantasy players to give you. We have a bunch of series to look out for this week, but obviously we're New York market here mainly. So real quick, Keith, give me your thoughts on what you think the Yankees and or Mets might do at the trade deadline. I heard you have some inside information about the Mets potentially not making a move for a certain player.
A little bit. So I hoping the Mets go strictly with pitching. I have a little feeling that they're not in on Kris Bryant, which is why I did.
And why do you say that, Keith?
I have sources. That's all. That's all I'll leave it at. I have a feeling that they're not in on Kris Bryant, and that's not the route they're going. Thankfully, because that's not what we need.
That's not what we need is right, unless he's going to transition to pitcher.
Exactly. But besides that, I'm hoping the Mets are going for more pitching. I doubt it's anybody high up. I really don't think they end up landing Berrios. I don't think they end up landing Kimbrel. Trevor Rogers or Taylor Rogers, whatever one's on the Twins. He would be a good reliever, especially since we literally only have one lefty in the bullpen, which is Loop, and Loop's been insane this year, but his arm's gonna fall off at some point. Yeah. And maybe like a John Gray or something, someone who's decent, throws innings, because at some point we're gonna have Carrasco and DeGrom coming back.
Do you have a certain guy that you would want?
That's up that
you could that's there? Like. Yeah, I mean, I don't think we're going to get Berrios. Like, a realistic guy that you think they could trade for.
Yeah, then probably John Gray, because I don't want, like, Tyler Anderson.
No,
John Gray strikes a lot of people out. And I would hope that Jeremy Hefner could fix whatever run problems he has and get him away from Coors Field, and he'll be
Yeah.
good.
So I like John Gray. If I was the Mets, then I would. These are a little more. Well, one of them is a little more unrealistic. You know, I'm a big Zach Allen guy, and the Diamondbacks are trash. And yes, I know he has like 4 years left of team control. Like, I don't want to hear it. All right, he's good. He has like no innings basically on his arm this year because he's been hurt for most of the season. But when he pitches, he always goes 6+. Big fan of Zach Allen. Do I think any team gets him? No. But can you imagine what you'd have to give up to acquire Zach Allen right at this point in time? He has so much team control left, it's insane. But you could get Merrill Kelly from the Diamondbacks,
who has been very, very good as of
who's
late.
been awesome lately. You
Yeah.
get him out of, well, one, the National League West is a bloodbath anyway. Every team you play is amazing. So you get him away from all those teams. And Citi Field's a lot more friendly than pitching in Arizona.
Yeah.
And he's been pitching well there. And he's another guy. We need guys that go innings because our bullpen is, they're all going to be shot by the time that, mid-August comes because they pitch a ton of innings. So obviously me and Keith are both in on the Mets. I've been saying since like Thanksgiving of last year that all I want is pitching. So
exactly.
Keith, as a Yankee, person who's near Yankee fans all the time, where do you think they should go with this trade deadline? I hear a lot of Trevor Story. Do you think he fits there? Do you think they'll actually make that trade?
He fits there, but will they trade for him? No. And I feel like they get stuck in a bad spot where they end up don't making a move. And the fans are gonna crucify them. But I mean, good fits. Like I said, Rizzo is a great fit there.
Rizzo would be awesome there.
They need another pitcher, so I mean, I guess you can go back to the low level starters we were talking about before with Tyler Anderson, John Gray.
Yeah, those
Merrill
types
Kelly.
of guys. Yeah.
Yeah. They don't trade for Kimbrel. They're not in on whatever Rogers brothers in Minnesota. Besides that, there's not many, relievers out on the market.
No, there's not, which is weird.
Really weird.
Because a lot of teams have a lot of good
trading for,
relievers.
maybe they end up trading for like Hansel Robles or something.
That could happen.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
So he's been all right.
Notification from Twitter, MLB Network, Dodgers and Padres amongst two teams engaging in trade talks for Twins pitcher Jose Barrios. That's what Keith just said before. Keith was like, the entire Padres and Dodgers philosophy is just block the other team from making trades.
Yep. Exactly. And then they're just gonna burn out their farm systems, and it's gonna be the best 30 for 30 ever in like 15 years. When both the teams are terrible forever.
But, alright, so obviously we could have kept talking trade, but we're kind of on a time constraint here. So, let's move on to some fantasy stuff. We'll start with Beat the Streak. Who are you taking tomorrow for Tuesday, and why?
I got Willy Adames against Tyler Anderson. So, Tyler Anderson, I said before, this is why I don't want the Mets to get him, even though they should get him because, they can't hit soft-tossing lefties. But Anderson is a soft-tossing lefty, and Willy Adames crushes those guys. He's been on fire since he got traded to the Brewers. Lefty-righty matchup works out perfect.
For sure. I'm going with the Boomstick against Jordan Montgomery. Nelson Cruz has owned left-handed pitchers basically since the dawn of time. Jordan Montgomery is a left-handed pitcher. Unfortunate for him. Good for Nelson Cruz. How about a fantasy player you're adding this week? I know the waiver wire column last week was scorching hot, Keith. If it was a physical piece of paper, it would have burned me. So who are you picking up this week?
I'm going with Mets legend Tyler McGill. He is on literally the same exact trajectory path as Jacob deGrom.
I saw that tweet. Yes.
Yeah. So when he came up, I was at his debut game as a fan, not working at the stadium. I was actually there watching with some friends. But I was there. And on the big screen, it was like a third inning, they put up a little pop-up that was like, Tyler McGill is the same exact age, year and day, as Jacob deGrom when he made his debut.
Wow.
Like 25 years old and 300 days.
I did not know that. Okay.
Yeah. So that started with that. Both low-level prospects in the under the top 10, whatever. And then they come out and like, oh man, he's got a good fastball. He's throwing 97. Oh, look at that, he's got a pretty good slider. Oh, look at that, he's got a pretty good changeup. And then next thing you know, he's got like a 2.2 ERA through his first like 8 starts or 6 starts or whatever it's been. Um, but now he's getting stretched out. He's picked last 2 starts, 6 scoreless innings. Not combined, 6 scoreless innings each start. But yeah, he's looking good.
I like that pick. He's already owned in our league, unfortunately, because
Yeah, sadly.
everyone that's good is owned in our league.
Yeah, I had him against the Pirates, and then I dropped him. Yeah. Dad took him.
So my guy, he was the lead on last week's waiver wire column. I like to try to be ahead of the curve here. I've loved this guy for a very long time, but he just can't, throw strikes. But he's been good so far. Touki Toussaint. Give him to me in every league. So far, he's pitched, 13 2/3 innings. He's given up 2 runs total. 15 strikeouts to only 2 walks. His problem's always been that he walks everybody. If he's not walking people, like, he's got electric stuff. You're talking about Keith's, like, Tyler McGill is more of like a sneaky kind of like, oh, wow, look at that. Like, Touki Toussaint's had the stuff since the day they drafted him or signed him, whatever the hell they did with him internationally. Yeah. He's always had electric stuff. Like, he pitched one time against the Mets, and I was like, this guy's murdering us. And he's been on fire, and he hasn't he's played 2 bad teams. He pitched against the Padres and the Phillies. So
shut both of them down.
Yeah, he's been great since they called him up. I'm all in on Touki Toussaint. I'm a sucker for his stuff. He reminds me a lot of Danny Salazar, except he goes more than 5 innings. So he's like the better version of Danny Salazar.
Exactly.
All right, Keith, wrap us up here. What's your series of the week this week?
I got a really fun one. I love my divisional matchups, but now I got to finally pick our team. Got the Mets against the Braves. Luckily, Touki pitched yesterday, so they will not have to face him, even though they are playing a 5-game series starting with a doubleheader today.
That's right.
So it is going to be a madhouse. I think the Braves are only 4.5 out of the division. So if, the Mets win 4 out of 5.
See you later, Atlanta. Yeah.
See you later, Atlanta. Sorry, exactly 5 games out of the division.
Okay.
I just looked right now. So the Mets are up 4 on the Phillies, up 5 on the Braves, and up 8 on the Nationals. So if the Mets win 4 out of 5, see you later, Atlanta. You got one day to trade your entire team.
Yeah.
If they go, if the Braves end up winning 3 out of 5, now they're back in the division.
Yeah,
and
this is a big series.
Yeah, and then they're back right at 500, I think, if I did my math correctly. And the Mets are only like 7 or 6 games over now at that point. And it puts them right back in. So yeah, it's a big series for both teams.
So when me and Keith were looking at the series for this week, I couldn't decide, so I just picked every single one of them. So here we go. Dodgers and Giants playing for first place. Dodgers, no Mookie Betts, not a good thing for them. The Giants, still, I don't understand how they're this good with 2 good players on their team, but all right, good for them. So that's a big matchup, obviously, NL West.
Yep.
A's are playing the Padres. The A's are a couple of games back in first place. The Padres are a couple of games back in first place. Both teams need to do well in this series to keep pace with the top teams, especially the Padres, because the Dodgers and Giants are playing each other, so someone has to win. And then you got the Mariners playing the Astros, and me and Keith just talked about if we were the Mariners, what kind of would we do? If the Mariners sweep this series, or take 2 or 3, whatever it is, you might have to buy somebody, because now you don't really have a choice. But they're also going to be watching the A's and Padres here, because if the A's sweep the Padres, they're still going to be really far back. So, there's a lot going on this week in terms of series. So, listen, if you found one of those streaming websites, stream these games, all right? And 2, let me and Keith know what you're using.
If let's say the Mariners sweep the Astros.
Yeah.
And Oakland loses 2 out of 3. Now
Mariners
everyone's
are right
within
there.
2.5 games of each other. The 3 teams are within 2.5 games. And
that's
going to get really crazy.
Huge.
Yeah.
So a lot of good series this week. Obviously, before we tease next week's show here, like I said before, check out the website. All right, written content is there. The podcast is there. Our 32 and 32 NFL series kicks off tomorrow, which is Tuesday. If you're there for baseball content, don't worry, still have the waiver wire column, and obviously we'll have trade deadline stuff on there as well. Number 2, if you're on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, like the video, send the video to a friend. If you're an Apple or Spotify listener, same deal. And obviously you can follow at Beak Brands on social media. Okay, so Keith, when we're back here next week, I'm sure we'll have a ton of trades that we need to recap and people to make fun of. So I think we'll go winners, losers at the trade deadline. The deadline is Friday, and like Keith mentioned in previous episodes, there is no, I guess, post-trade deadline. All right, so so this is it. There's no, like, trade's going to be in August. Like, this is all of them coming in hot this Friday. So we'll have stuff to talk about for that. And then, obviously, after we recap that, we're down the home stretch. We're getting ready for playoff baseball. So it's going to be exciting. I'm hyped.
Me too.
Until then, me and Keith are out of here. He's going to eat something. I'm going to eat something. We'll be back with you next week. All right, we're off.